Hello and welcome. I'm Weiser, Cornell.
I'm Barbara McGavin.
Welcome to Untangling, this webinar. That's an introduction to the work that we're very excited about that we call Untangling.
Yeah, we've been working on this for almost 23 years now, 22 and a half years. And it's very, there we go. Not quite, but there we go.
Not quite. There we go.
Yeah, yay, fantastic. There we go.
And we've been working on this body of work for more than 22 years. We've called it Treasure Maps to the Soul for a lot of those years, and we're starting to call it Untangling. So as you join us today, we're inviting you to ask yourself some questions. Do you feel blocked anywhere in your life? Do you feel tied up in knots and limited and stuck?
Do you battle with feeling inadequate or unworthy? I think this is so unbelievably common. I know that
very
one well.
Common, tragically common, right? And actually what we're going to say is that it's a marker of a place to find the forward life in you if you actually look for the places where you feel inadequate or unworthy. And we'd also want you to ask yourself, do you long for something that feels impossible? And do you continue to long for something that feels impossible, even though it still feels impossible?
And that one's really interesting. The whole thing about something that seems impossible, something that feels impossible, impossible to do, impossible to think even. It's right at that, this whole work is right at that edge where impossible pulls you back from that forward movement of your life.
We've learned to get very excited when something's impossible. And that might be very odd. We are odd people. We're excited.
No, we are
There's something impossible.
Odd.
Well, and what we've learned is, can what seems impossible become possible? We've learned the answer is yes.
What and that seems impossible can become possible. And that's a funny kind of possible. Because it's not necessarily what you thought you would get becomes possible. It's what you thought you couldn't live becomes possible to live. And that's a different kind of thing. That's a whole different thing. To be able to live what felt impossible to live.
And to explain more what we mean by that, we're going to tell you a little more about ourselves and then about what a tangle is. I don't think you need to see a photo of the two of us when you could actually see the beauty of us.
And it was such a nice photo, we couldn't resist. You know.
It is a very cute photo when we're on a happy occasion like this one. So, as we were mentioning, we started this work about 22 years ago. It was actually in September of 1994. It's nearly 23 years ago now. Yeah. When we were both facing stuck, impossible, emotional life crises. For me, it was discovering that I'd been using alcohol addictively and feeling ashamed of that and wondering how I could have been lying to myself as I believed I had been for years. And for Barbara?
Well, I was really struggling with feeling, those unworthy, inadequate kind of things. I felt unworthy and inadequate in most of my life and deeply depressed and even suicidally depressed. I mean, I really thought that life wasn't worth living. I wasn't worth being alive. And it was hard. It was a painful time. Very, very scary time. A lot of ways.
So there we were, thrown together really, because although we didn't know each other very well, we happened to be about to teach 3 workshops together. And because we had the tool of focusing, we began to focus in every free minute because of these crises we were both facing. However, focusing as we knew it at that time had not gotten us through these particular stuck places, what we would now call tangles. Focusing, of course, had helped us in many ways. We'd been focusing teachers for years.
Yeah, but we knew that we were onto something good here, but it didn't touch into those places that Anne continued to drink. I continued to get suicidally depressed. And of course, that brought into question the whole thing of, is focusing any good? That, because we can't get past this stuff. But we decided, okay, well, it's the best thing we know. Nothing else that I had tried at that point, and I had tried so many different things.
And we're not going somewhere else. We're not going to try anything else. We're going to go into the roots of focusing, deeply into focusing, and just experiment and see whether we can somehow make this work for this new tough situation. And because Barbara is so brilliant, we did find new ways to apply focusing. And after every session that we did, she would take out her notebook and start making notes, not just about what happened in that one session, but about what we had learned about the kind of thing that we were doing. And I started doing that too. And people in the workshops we were teaching started to ask us questions that could only be answered out of the new knowledge that felt so raw and vulnerable to us, but we just couldn't resist sharing it with them, because in fact it was being very helpful.
We kept looking at each other and going, should we say something? But then we go, all right, well, actually, I know this little bit here, maybe, perhaps. And took it from
And we
there.
found ourselves calling it treasure maps to the soul, because it was, the work we were doing was helping us turn toward what would otherwise be the most rejected and despised places, and discovering that those very places pointed to where something was unlived, something beautiful, powerful, creative was unlived and waiting to live forward. Well, we thought right then that we'd write a book about it. 23 years later, we are writing a book now. And
we have bits of several books that we have written so far.
We feel so passionate about this work. We've now taught it in 6-day retreats all over the world for the last 23 years. It's helped us enormously, and it's helped a lot of other people that we've worked with. That's why we want to share it with you. We have 2 exercises for you today where we're going to give you as much as possible as we can in this 1 hour from the untangling process that now we feel very confident about. It has a whole series of stages. It has a solid base of theory. And we understand a lot about this phenomenon, which is a tangle. So let's go back to our presentation here. Here we go. So when something in your life has become so stuck that you can't think your way out of it and you can't act your way out of it, that's what we call a tangle. A tangle is a life situation, a problem, a kind of problem that we can't simply solve by thinking our way out of it or behaving our way out of it, because the nature of a tangle is such that everything you try inside the tangle to try to get out of the tangle just gets you in the tangle more. And this concept of a tangle that has developed because of this work excites us very much. Now, it might not seem like good news to discover that in these really stuck areas of your life, there's nothing you can do. But that's not true, of course. We have some things you can do. It's just that as long as you're in the tangle, there's nothing you can do. We're going to have to help you shift levels so that you are no longer in the tangle. Yes, there's our friend the tangle. What else can we say about tangles, Barbara? What we know about them or what they feel like. So a tangle is where something feels impossible, hopeless, frustrating. It may be an area of your life that you've just given up on. Like that's over there, that the trying to find a really loving life partner, or the trying to bring my creativity fully into the world. I've given up. That's over there. And yet there's something in you that isn't complete or isn't really fulfilled, as long as that's not part of you living forward. Ooh. Or it may be that instead of having given up on it, you confront it every day. It's part of every day's frustration and misery.
Indeed. And so, it's painful.
Yes, it's painful.
It's painful. Yeah. It hurts.
It hurts. And so although this is bad news, it's not really bad news, because you already really at some deep level knew it was a tangle. In fact, maybe it feels a little better to know that it's not because there's something wrong with you that this is a tangle that you can't get out of. It's the nature of tangles.
One of the things about tangles is that, as Anne has already said, is that if you try to solve them at the level at which they have been created and you are living them, the level at which you're living them at the moment, you will just get more of the same. It might be a whole bunch of creative ways of trying to figure your way out of it, but each one, it's like there's a loop. You might even go quite a long ways out and think, whoa, I'm out of it now. I'm really going someplace. And then, and you go, and that is part of the pain of the tangle, is this not just the frustration of not being able to go forward, but if you think that you're out a little bit and then you're kind of caught back up again in it, that's like, oh, it's exhausting and frustrating and painful.
There is some kind of cycle of endlessness to the tangle, whether it cycles every 5 minutes or whether it cycles over months. So what is untangling? Untangling is this method that we've created. It's a development of focusing. We believe it is focusing.
And it's a development of inner relationship focusing.
Right.
Because in untangling, we are able to, we come into relationship with those different aspects. In a tangle, there are many different aspects that are at war with each other, that they get caught up with each other. And so in untangling, we start to differentiate these different aspects of ourselves and come into a relationship with them. And that helps
untangling,
it helps us to take steps there. Go ahead, Anne.
Yeah, and untangling works because, And for the same reasons that focusing works, by bringing compassionate, open awareness to something that is felt. However, when we're in a tangle, there's something that makes focusing difficult, and that is that we are identified with warring parts, aspects of self. So the untangling process adds to the classic focusing method ways of dealing with, meeting, arranging, getting to know parts as well as the felt senses of the parts. So we have an exercise, but we're going to say something else first.
Yeah, real quick thing. Another thing that made getting untangled really difficult was that sort of key players in a tangle may not be felt in the body.
Right.
So, and that makes it really tricky. For that was one of the major problems with working with my depression, was that I had this major critical process going on telling me how useless I was, how worthless I was. All I was aware of was how it felt in my body. I felt useless and worthless, but I never had a way of being able to turn towards what was sending those messages, what was telling me, basically, even though I never heard it and I never felt it. So this work that we did helped me to be able to turn towards what was there.
What was there and yet missing.
And yet
missing part in the process.
In the focusing process. Yeah.
Because focusing as we knew it up till then invited us to be with what we felt. And yet key players in tangles are not yet felt. They need to be invited into awareness. In my case, the part of me that wanted to be drunk, I never felt. And so how could I have a relationship with it? Well, we figured out how to do that. And until that had happened, it couldn't have changed. Not using focusing, in my belief. Mm-hmm. So we have an exercise for you. In fact, we have 2 exercises for you today. Let's do the first one. The first one has to do with getting to know your tangle. And let's do that now. All right. So I'm going to be guiding you through the exercise. And we'll start by, I guess we're going to do this. Sorry. Okay, so this is letting you know that for this exercise, you may want to close your eyes. Or you know what? That's just not going to work because I need to look at my notes. Okay, very good. You'll have to be looking at us then. All right, we'll start by having you settle in to body awareness and be aware of how your body is being supported now. Resting into that support, feeling your breathing, and being aware of the whole inner area of your body. That includes your throat, your chest, your stomach, and your belly. And you may already be feeling something that's been stirred up by the discussion we've had so far. You might notice what that's like and perhaps acknowledge it. And you may already be aware of at least one tangle that you have in your life these days. And this will be an exercise for getting to know your tangle. So let's pause for those people who have not yet become aware of a tangle, and just invite you to sense somewhere in your life where something feels impossible. Maybe something feels impossible to do, like live a balanced life, or make time for yourself every day, or get to your creative project, or do exercise, or something. Or maybe there's something that feels impossible to have, like a healthy, pain-free body, or a loving life partner, or work that fulfills you. So where's something impossible? Or it might feel impossible to feel that you're okay, just the way you are. And if you have more than one, I'm giving you just a moment or two to pick one of them, so we can do the rest of the exercise with that one. And it probably relates to the others as well. Oh, and if you can easily find some paper and pencil, paper and pen, you might want to have that and make notes as we go along, or maybe notes right afterward. So this exercise involves unfinished sentences that you would then go ahead and finish, letting something come inside you. And whatever comes is great. And the first one is, what feels impossible is... What feels impossible is... Okay. Go on to the next one. What happens is... So this is about your tangle. If it's a tangle, you've been in it for quite some time. There's a way that things happen. You try something and it doesn't work. You speak out and you get put down. So this is just getting in touch with what happens. What happens is... Yeah. You may be seeing scenes, having memories. That's just great. Okay, the next one. I should or should not. I should or I should not. Just let that sentence be finished from the tangle place, or about the tangle. I should or I should not. I should be stronger, nicer, more considerate, more creative. I should not care so much about what other people think. Just let the finish of the sentence comes, no right or wrong. I should or I should not. And all we're doing in this exercise is we're getting to know your tangle. All these are aspects of any tangle as they play out, as they live as part of your life. The next one is how it feels in my body. So sensing right now, and also you can remember other times when you had a stronger body feeling from your tangle. How it feels in my body is how it feels in my body is. And if you're having a very strong body feeling right now, you might let a gentle hand go there to that place where you're feeling something strong, just to accompany what you're feeling. Because what's coming now in this exercise, these are parts of you, there's something in you, and it's really great if you can be present to these parts and places and feelings, perhaps by using a gentle hand, and perhaps by saying inside yourself, I am here. Speaking to these inner parts and places, I am here with you now. Hello, I know you're there, and I'm here with you now. Okay, so we have two more unfinished sentences. Are you ready for the next one? The next one is, it also connects with. So this tangle, this whole thing, also connects with. Just saying those words inside and be open to what comes. Let it surprise you even what you learn about what this also connects with. It also connects with. Good. All right, one more then. Pausing to acknowledge what came there about what it also connects with, just acknowledging that. I am sensing, that's what it also connects with. And one more, which is, it's a whole thing about. It's a whole thing about. It's a whole thing about belonging, or it's the whole thing about being who I really am, or it's a whole thing about whether my voice has value, etc. Right? So just letting whatever comes, come. When you start the sentence, it's a whole thing about. And again, remember that you are here being the space that holds all of this. And no matter how much suffering you go through because of this tangle, the one in you that's suffering, that's frustrated, that's tired of it, that's a part of you, or those are parts of you that you can be compassionate toward, say hello to, and be with. And notice, how possible is that right now? How possible is it to be a bit larger than the different actions and feelings and events in your tangle? Even if you notice it's a real struggle to be present, bigger than all that, that's actually a good thing to do, to notice that it's hard. Okay, so we're going to bring this exercise to a gentle completion. Thank your body. Thank your body's process. Coming back. You may want to make some notes if you haven't been making notes already. We have something to share with you, and then we have another exercise for you, and we'd like to have a further dialogue again about how that was for you, what you're noticing, what questions you have for us. So let's go ahead and share, unless you'd like to say something before we do that, Barbara.
Just want to say it always surprises me doing that particular little exercise, and in so many ways it's a really simple little exercise, though extremely well thought out. And it also connects with, and it's a whole thing about, it always surprises me. It's like, oh, it's like, what? Where did that come from? But yes. And it comes out of that bodily feeling. Like right in there was this bodily feeling. And oh, it's like this very external situation, which doesn't really matter what it was. Like this very external situation, when it came in, was like, it's a whole thing about love. Whoa, really? How interesting. So it's a whole thing about love and like a very finely granulated, with so many different layers. So that's really interesting, and something feels just a little bit more open and alive there than it did, 20 minutes ago or whatever it was, 15 minutes ago.
Wow. Really very appropriate for Valentine's Day week.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
But yes, it's not just, of course, the concept or the word love. It's the
whole experience and how entirely unique that is, how it lives in me. It's not just love. It's like this thing. Very interesting. Thank you.
Oh, and based on that, maybe inspired by that, we have a question from Susan, who says, I found that those two questions led me to the same answer. So it also connects with me not being good enough, and it's a whole thing about me not being good enough. That could be. I'm wondering though, Susan, about the it's a whole thing about. You might want to consider these words that come to me right now. It's a whole thing about me being enough. Whether I am enough. See whether that fits. And let us know. Susan writes, yes, that felt right.
Feels right. Great.
Actually, that's something Barbara and I are awfully good at. I'm just going to switch so I'm not being shined on. Barbara and I, by this time, having helped many processes, we kind of have an intuition for what might be the missing thing. We can support you more than we could in this hour in our upcoming course. And we have so much we want to share with you there. It's called Untangling, an introduction to treasure maps to the soul. It will start in 2 weeks at the same time of day as this webinar, 2 hours a week for 5 weeks. And what we'd like to do in that course, a number of different things. We'd like to give you some ways of going beneath the surface of what's going on. So ways to get beneath the surface of what's going on in the tangle to the underlying conflicts, right? Tangles are like that. What they seem to be on the surface is often not what the underlying conflict is. And we know a lot of ways to go under the surface. At the surface, there's no way out. Under the surface, there is a way out. We're going to show you a whole array of methods for cultivating self-in-presence. Self-in-presence is that ability to turn toward anything in you. We're going to give you plenty of practice in using the methods that work best for you.
Ways to approach your own tangle with fresh language that gets your body ready for real transformation. What does that mean? There's language that you can use that, like the language that we have been using today, that really can shift things in really surprising ways. And sometimes the language, you go, wow, that's pretty simple. And a lot of it is. A lot of the language is actually simple, but extremely important how it is structured. A lot of it is also language that you would already know from if you've done any interrelationship focusing. A lot of it is already in there. And there's more.
Applications to Tangles are very interesting. So we're also going to offer you ways to step out of the war between two or more parts. So in a tangle, two or more parts are in a war, they're at war, they're locked into a life and death struggle. And it's because both of them believe they're trying to save your life in opposite ways. However, we'll show you ways to step out of the war between the two parts, creating an inner environment where transformational change can take place.
And one of the most important, of course, is how to bring deep empathy to your inner world. So developing self-kindness, developing understanding. And of course, this is core for real change to happen. And it's incredibly challenging to be kind to yourself. It's so much easier actually to be kind to somebody else than it is to be kind to yourself. And we really look at that. And we have, again, language and structure and methodology, and to be able to support you in this really challenging and difficult kind of process, to be able to be empathic. Empathy is, it's all over the place. These days you see it, in business and stuff. Everybody's really into empathy. Well, this is deep empathy.
Deep.
So,
and how to do it, right? Not just be empathic.
Yeah.
Not just be deeply empathic. We actually
like,
have very specific ways of showing how.
Yeah.
Yes. The website where you'll find the registration link for this course is focusingresources.com. Let's find out if anybody wants to say something before we do our second exercise. I don't see any questions waiting for us.
Yeah,
Very
don't see any hands up.
No, and we don't see any hands up either. So let's do our second exercise. Second exercise builds on the first one. And we'll have a bit of time, I hope, after the second one for some more Q&A. So do feel free to write to us in the Q&A box if we can help you with something. We'd love to help people, or if there's something we can answer. All right, good. Let's do our second exercise. And for this purpose, we'd like you to find your comfortable spot again, sitting or standing, feeling supported. And you're going to come back again to that same tangle that you were with in the first exercise. And it probably somewhat changed as you were with it. So the inner experience of it's a whole thing about may be there for you as you contact again this tangle. So pausing to feel your body supported, to find the sensations of body contact through your feet, your seat, your back, and feeling your breathing. Bringing awareness inward to that whole inner area that includes your throat, your chest, your stomach and belly. And we're coming into this inner area of the body, remembering the tangle, remembering what happens, remembering what it seems to be a whole thing about. And asking you to find again that sense that something's impossible. I can't both express myself and feel safe. Or I can't both throw myself into my work and feel that I'm nurturing myself. I can't soothe myself late at night in some way that's not overeating. So letting yourself find that there's something you want to do but you can't, something you want to have but you can't. There seem to be two sides fighting each other, or something that's important seems to be impossible. And it's a whole thing about being able to what? You can fill in that blank. So we're wanting you to find a sentence that's true of your tangle, where there are two sides, and both sides can be here. And these may be sides of you that often fight each other. So if you have a sentence that starts, I should or I shouldn't, there's the fight right there. When I was in my alcohol addiction, I shouldn't get drunk. I shouldn't skip my exercise. I shouldn't let myself snap at people, get angry, express my anger. Or is there a should in there? I should be able to tell the truth, stand up and express myself. I should. Be able to live with this other person without criticizing them so much. So one way or another, we're finding two sides. Something in me wants or does or feels something. And something in me wants something else or doesn't like that. Something in me wants to be drunk, and something in me thinks that's a really bad idea. Something in me wants to express myself freely, and another something in me is worried I won't be safe if I do. Let's pause and let you find this. We call it an and sentence, a sentence with and in the middle that includes two or more parts that you can find struggling in your tangle. So something in me, da, 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 and something in me goes the other way, doesn't like it, fights with it. Maybe there's a third one, and something in me is tired of that conflict. We can have as many ands as we need. And right now we're just finding the sentence. We're not trying to do anything with it. Something in me this and something in me that. And notice how it feels to have it that way. To have it in a sentence with and in the middle. The two or more sides that fight in the tangle are in a sentence. Each of them is something in me this, and something in me that. How does that feel? And you are there, right? You're the space in which both can be there. So you can add those words to your sentence. Something in me this, and something in me that, and both are there, and I am here with both. Notice how that feels. Probably it feels like relief, or you feel a part of you anxious about how you're going to find a solution to this. If you find an anxious part about finding the solution, include it in your sentence. And something in me is anxious about finding a solution. And that's here too. And I am here with all of this. Pausing to get your sentence. I'm going to say it one more time. Something in me wants and something in me doesn't, or wants something else. And both are there. And I am here with both. In fact, I'm going to show it to you. So we're coming away with a sentence and also with a noticing how it feels to have found these different parts and held them separately. It's sort of separating them out. not trying to solve a problem, but giving it more space. And we're going to bring this exercise to a gentle completion. We're very interested in what you might want to tell us. But for now, perhaps you'd like to thank your body and your process. And let awareness come back, being aware of the room around you. Perhaps you'd like to make some notes for yourself. How was it? Tell us, or ask us a question, or whatever you'd like to say. A hand is up from Chuck. Chuck, can I invite you up on stage with us? I don't know if you're saying yes or no, so I'm just going to do it. Hi.
I have to say is I'm in touch with my tangle, and it makes me feel incredibly anxious and incredibly frustrated, and I feel precisely where I feel when I'm in the midst of this tangle of like, I just need to take a nap. So I'm having the sense of also thinking, well, you've got a hard sell here because you're saying we can help you do what you think is impossible, but it still feels impossible. Even putting the sentence, writing the sentence doesn't diminish its sense of impossibility. I'm feeling it, but it still feels like, come on, there's no way.
Well, I so appreciate your courage and speaking up and saying so. That is what tangles feel like.
Yeah.
So please add to your sentence, and something in me feels incredibly anxious about this.
Right.
And something in me feels enormously frustrated about this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's clearly present.
Okay.
In my sentence.
Right. And how about when you say, and all of that is here, and I am here with that.
As always, for me in the focusing process, something releases a little bit around the frustration and anxiety, but it's still not possible. But still.
Yeah. And this is the toughest stuff. This sense of it's impossible, and it feels, and like that sense of impossible occurs inside the tangle. Like when you start getting a little bit bigger than the tangle so that you can have the tangle and you hold the tangle, you start going, I wonder, maybe it's, I don't know yet. Maybe I just, because you can't think your way out from inside.
Yeah, I feel a turning towards.
Yeah. Great.
But well, that's not actually true. I feel a turning towards, but I'm turning towards it and going like this at the same time.
Yeah.
Well,
so you need to turn towards the one that's going.
That's right. It's very good that you're noticing how it is. That's fabulous. And what occurs to me is there's probably a part that needs to know, that feels it needs to know how we're going to get out of this.
Right. I'm wanting to know if there's a guarantee, for example.
Yeah. Right. So there's a lot of not knowing that's actually going to help, but it's in terms of increasing our tolerance for the not knowing. And probably to a part of you, it feels like you're being asked to trust these two wild old ladies. No, don't trust us. Trust your body.
Well, yeah, that's the thing I'm in issuing with. It's a for a person who has a lot of trust in general and being in the world, this one issue, and it's a writer's block sort of thing. It's a writer's block.
Yeah.
I just don't have any trust whatsoever. I just am oddly, again for me, consumed by an anxious feeling around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really acknowledging how
juicy.
big that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something is that anxious. Yeah, we call it juicy.
Well, that's helpful to get the size of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it gives us traction, right? There's going to be something to really get a hold of. It's that anxious. We're going to find out more about why.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, it's discrete at least.
That's right.
Even if it still feels impossible. Yeah.
That's right. It's located.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us. That's so nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we do have another Q&A.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Thank you, Susan, for talking to us again about what it was like for you. Susan says it was an amazing experience. I'm glad to hear it. So I'm really glad we heard from Chuck, who didn't find it an amazing experience exactly. Susan is saying it was. In this webinar, we're getting you started and we're helping you encounter something. Okay, Susan says, it's because of the first exercise that the second exercise was so powerful. And the part that really helped me was, and something in me is anxious about finding a solution, and I'm here with that too. Nice. I think Chuck helped with that. Great. Thanks so much, Susan. All right. Would someone else like to speak to us? You can raise your hand. I'm not sure how, but it's somewhere on your screen. Or you can write something in the Q&A. And we're at the end of our time. Oh, here's our friend Pat. Hello, Pat. Welcome. If she accepts our offer, she'll be up on stage with us. Hello there. Please go ahead.
I'm not sure it will come back to me when I click the button. There's a real stuckness about this for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super stuck. And and where I have gotten to it doing this on my own, I've gotten to a place where a big part of me is saying, all right, I'm not going to press you. I'm not going to denigrate. I'm going to just be here and wait and let you will come around, I know. And so I feel even stuck with that because I can't get anybody to even ask this part to come forward and let me know what's going on. So this exercise was really helpful in getting some clues. It's something that wants to be unpredictable and it doesn't want to be tracked. And the whole rest of me is living towards being more honest and more open and more straightforward and more flowing. And so it's as if this is actually, finally it turned to myself and said, yeah, you're telling me what to do and I'm not doing it. So it's like I'm not fighting with anybody on the outside anymore. It's just, yeah. So I'm beginning to feel attacked by myself.
It's an interesting place to be, actually.
Yes, it is.
This
Very
is
interesting.
this is starting to go under. love.
You're beginning to feel attacked by yourself. Something in you is feeling attacked. And we suppose there's an attacker there too. And both are there.
I had not recognized that.
Mm.
Something in me is feeling attacked by the part that doesn't want, that wants to be unpredictable and intractable. Oh, yeah. Gosh, that frees myself in presence to be, you know, I felt like I was trying to get this long-leggedy hold on me to let go of me. Yeah, when I think that that's a part that wants, say that again for me, the part that wants to be unpredictable.
Something in you feels attacked.
Something in me feels attacked. I need to write that. Yeah, oh, thank you.
And we suppose there's an attacker.
I do suppose that.
Thanks so much, Pat. I love your vividness of your process. All right, then. So we'll complete this webinar. I want to cough. Completing this webinar. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us.
Indeed. Thank you. I wish we'd see each other, but
wish we could see you all.
Yes, a lot of friends in the list. So lots of love to everybody. You're now muted, my dear.
Oh, right, because I was sneezing. Very happy to be with you all. Bye-bye for now. See you later. Bye.
Bye for now. Bye.
Yay.